I put forward this word in my book called Cosmometics. Cosmometics is a term that I came up with that is mirroring the idea of biomimetics. And many people listening will know this term biomimetic technology. Like, for example, like a radar is basically the same as what bats use. Our technology of radar is basically what bats use. Or, you can study how a gecko is able to walk on a ceiling. And what it is there's little tiny hair follicles that create these electromagnetic friction points, what have you, and that they're technically like floating on electromagnetic suction, and they're hanging upside down. So we can make, technology based on biology, right? Biomimetics. I came up with a term called cosmometics, and cosmometics is from the term cosmos, or like universe from Greek, and it basically is the idea that what I think we're stepping into is we're stepping into a cosmometic technological domain, meaning the internet, AI, and future technology is about, whether we realize it or not right now, is actually about mimicking how the cosmos itself is structured. And fundamentally, what this is about is connectivity. So what energy healing does immediately when you practice it is you realize that information is distributed everywhere. All information is distributed everywhere. It's the holographic principle, but it's also if you test this by practicing energy work, it immediately validates or expresses this. This is also why some traditions call it the Akashic Records, right? Akashic Records simply translates as the records in space, the information in space, right? So what we are in is a reality which has this geometric structure where all the levels fold into one another as you go higher and higher until there's a single point of origin. And what that means in this profound and completely otherworldly, beyond humanness kind of way, is that everything is interconnected simultaneously at every single point. And that is ridiculously complex to think of if you try and engineer it in your mind. But if we just start to think very differently about reality, and this is the beginnings of these very important insights in science that are happening, like the amplitahedron, like somebody like, I think his name's Douglas Hoffman, right? He's a scientist who's going around a lot lately. And what he's talking about is Donald Hoffman. Thank you.
I've interviewed him.
Great. So he's saying like the big thing happening in physics is that everything is outside of time and space. It's like atemporal inquiry is now the thing that's been happening for 10 years, right? We don't have it in textbooks. It's not mainstream. It's not something that the common person thinks about because it's not part of the paradigm that we're living in. But science itself is 10, 15 years into this foray into saying, holy moly, everything is interconnected in a way that is bafflingly more complex than we could possibly imagine. Now, this is exactly what all the ancients have been talking about forever. Indra's net of jewels is a yogic mythology that expresses this, where Indra looks at one jewel and there's a net of jewels cast throughout the entire universe, and he looks at one jewel, and in the one jewel is reflected infinitely all of the other jewels. This is reality. This is holographic reality. And energy healing is something that makes use of that, where you can learn through intention and attention and working with levels of consciousness to engineer and create changes in your aura just by learning to access certain kinds of information. It's like the cosmic Google, if you will, because guess what? All information is distributed equally everywhere. And this has profound implications for us as human beings as we start to understand how we're connected, meaning you and I are connected at levels that are non-physical right now, that are energetically based, in which we're exchanging information and energy non-physically. And that's kind of like obvious, but it also isn't obvious because we don't think that way usually.